This great destruction wasn't just physical damage, but also the annihilation of a cultural and political symbol of the Persian Empire. The burning of Persepolis led to the loss of part of the Persian Empire's historical and cultural heritage. This event not only reinforced Alexander's military victory, but also highlighted the scale and impact of his conquests. Dear friends, the capture and burning of Persepolis was a significant turning point in history. This event not only highlights Alexander the Great's military achievements, but also the magnitude of his conquests and wars. The destruction of Persepolis showed how deep and impactful Alexander's conquests were, while also marking the end of the Persian Empire. This grand event tells a story of victory and destruction that echoes through the depths of history. Now, as we continue to explore Alexander's conquests and the expansion of his empire, we will keep uncovering the effects and consequences of this great victory. Dear friends, we continue our journey into the depths of history and the final stages of Alexander the Great's incredible conquests. Today we'll explore the fascinating story of the fall of the Persian Empire and the power struggles in Asia. Get ready, as this period reveals how Alexander's military genius, strategic acumen, and leadership transformed the course of history. By the late 330s BCE, the Persian Empire had become nothing more than a shadow of its former self. Alexander the Great had inflicted deep wounds on this vast empire, systematically dismantling its centers of power. However, achieving the complete collapse of the empire required a significant struggle. During this time, the fall of the Persian Empire marked the peak of Alexander's military strategies and leadership skills. Alexander's conquests had rapidly expanded the borders of the Persian Empire. Now, he was targeting the empire's last major remnants. Alexander had conquered the great cities and centers of the Persian Empire, but the Persian forces' retreat made his final victory more challenging. The fall of the Persian Empire was not just a military clash, but also a strategic battle. Alexander launched campaigns across various regions of the empire, engaging both enemy forces and competing in the vast lands of Asia. The last bastions of Persian resistance, such as Ispahan and Akhal, were captured through Alexander's carefully planned military operations. However, this struggle went beyond mere military warfare. Alexander's power struggle in Asia also impacted the region's cultural, political, and economic landscape. His conquests led to diverse cultural interactions and political changes throughout Asia. During this period, Alexander's influence in Asia was shaped not only by his military victories, but also by his impact on the region's cultural and political structures. Alexander's influence in Asia was not limited to expanding his empire. He worked to restructure local administrations in the conquered territories, aiming to ensure regional stability and implement his own governance style. This process led to the dissolution of the Persian Empire's old administrative systems and the establishment of Alexander's own imperial system. Alexander's struggle for power in Asia was a combination of military and political strategies. His efforts across the vast lands of Asia highlighted his military brilliance and strategic intellect once again. Alongside his conquests, Alexander demonstrated his ability to manage the diverse cultural and political dynamics of the region. The new administration he established in Asia reinforced both his own and his empire's power. Dear friends, the fall of the Persian Empire and the power struggles in Asia represent a period when Alexander the Great's military and strategic achievements reached their peak. During this time, his conquests led to not only the collapse of an empire, but also profound changes in the region's cultural and political landscape. Alexander's great struggle in Asia is among the events that solidified his reputation as one of history's greatest conquerors. Now we will continue to delve deeper into the effects and outcomes of these monumental conquests. Dear friends, as we delve deeper into the annals of history, We're approaching the most thrilling and challenging stages of Alexander the Great's conquest. Now I'll take you on an epic adventure to India and explore the details of a monumental battle that took place there. Get ready, because in this segment we'll focus on the peak of Alexander's conquests in Asia and his impressive advance into India. By 326 BCE, Alexander's conquests had made a significant impact in the west of Asia. The young and daring ruler of Macedonia had overthrown the Persian Empire, conquered a vast territory from Mesopotamia to Syria, and finally set his sights on the depths of India. This grand advance into India was a major step both militarily and strategically. When Alexander set out for India, the first major obstacle he faced was the Jhelum River. This river was not just a geographical barrier, but also represented the borders of a powerful local ruler in northern India. At this point, Alexander encountered his formidable opponent, King Porus, who was a former ally of the Persians and ruled over northern India. King Porus was known as one of the strongest and bravest warriors in the region, and it was clear he would do everything in his power to halt Alexander's advance. One of the most significant and memorable moments in this great advance into India was the Battle of the Hydaspes. This battle was a true test of Alexander's military strategies and combat skills, fought on the banks of the Jhelum River. The battle became a struggle that tested both the natural conditions and military prowess. The river's width and current made the battlefield even more challenging. Alexander's military genius shone through as he developed a successful strategy to overcome these natural obstacles. During this time, Alexander's combat skills were evident in his fight against the local forces across the river. Despite the difficulties of fighting in dense forests, harsh terrain, and against a strong enemy army, Alexander's strategic brilliance and courage led to victory. The outcome of the battle was shaped by Alexander's strategic moves across the river. With a clever plan, Alexander crossed to the other side of the river and gained the upper hand by surrounding Porus's army from various directions. This battle demonstrated Alexander's exceptional military leadership and his ability to turn nature and geographical barriers into advantages. As a result, the Battle of the Hydaspes marked the extension of Alexander's conquests into Indian territory and solidified his dominance in the region. Despite Porus's impressive resistance, Alexander achieved a great victory and established a strong presence in this part of India. After the battle, Porus gained Alexander's favor and became a loyal ally, playing a significant role during Alexander's conquests in India. This grand advance into India and the Battle of the Hydaspes represent a turning point where Alexander's military skills and strategic acumen reached their peak. This victory showcased his determination to expand the borders of his empire and his military genius. Dear friends, the story of these great conquests and battles in India is one of the most impressive and memorable moments in our history. Now we will continue to closely examine the developments following these conquests and the continuation of Alexander's journey in Asia. Dear friends, today I'm going to tell you about the challenges Alexander the Great faced in India and the exciting encounters he had with the Indian principalities. His grand advance into India was not just a military strategy but also a struggle against cultural and geographical obstacles. These challenges highlighted the extent of Alexander's leadership skills and courage. As Alexander advanced through Asia, he had to deal with the rich and complex geography of India. The terrain, with its rivers, mountains, and forests, made the battlefield challenging both naturally and strategically. The broad currents and banks of the Jhelum River significantly restricted the movement of Alexander's army. Rocky areas and swamps on both sides of the river further complicated the strategic maneuvers of the military units. However, Alexander's military brilliance and strategic intelligence allowed him to devise a perfect plan to overcome these difficulties. He employed bold and creative tactics to turn these natural obstacles to his advantage. The crossing of the river was carried out under complex and dangerous conditions. Alexander utilized military engineering skills to execute a challenging engineering operation. Temporary bridges and fortifications placed along the riverbanks played a crucial role in overcoming this obstacle. In northern India, Alexander's first major encounter was with King Porus. Porus was a highly respected king in the region and was determined to defend his lands. Alexander's advance into India posed a significant threat to Porus's territory. Porus was equipped with one of India's most powerful and experienced armies, making him one of the first major and formidable opponents Alexander faced. The confrontation between Porus and Alexander became a battle where both sides' military strategies and leadership skills were put to the test. Porus did everything in his power to stop Alexander's army from setting foot on Indian soil. Facing a large army and countering such a strong rival demonstrated Alexander's superior military skills. Porus's combat in the forested and mountainous regions tested Alexander's strategic advantages. Porus's warriors made use of the natural advantages of the difficult terrain to put Alexander's army in a tough spot. However, Alexander's ability to navigate through forests and utilize the mountainous terrain helped him overcome these challenges. By breaching the forests and mountains and infiltrating Porus's camp, Alexander gained a significant strategic advantage. These tough battles in India allowed Alexander to refine his military strategies and achieve superiority in combat. The challenges he faced became critical moments that tested his leadership and military skills, securing his success in India and a great victory. Dear friends, Alexander's great adventure in India demonstrated how effective his military strategies and leadership were. These challenges and encounters were a significant part of his historic conquests. Now we will continue to closely examine the developments following these major conquests and the impact of Alexander's achievements in India. Dear friends, now I will take you through Alexander the Great's return journey from India and his challenging trek through the Gedrosian Desert. This region was the site of one of the greatest trials of his military career, a true test of his leadership skills. After achieving great victories in India, Alexander felt it was time to leave the rich lands behind. This marked the beginning of a period filled with exhaustion and hardships for both him and his army. Leaving the fertile lands and battlefields of India meant entering a new and unknown territory. However, the return journey was far from easy for Alexander and his troops. During this journey, Alexander found himself facing the harsh and formidable conditions of the Gedrosian Desert. The desert was notorious for its scorching sands, barren terrain, and lack of water sources. It was essentially a hellish environment for military units. Alexander's army struggled immensely to survive in this vast and inhospitable landscape. The desert's hot winds sapped the morale of the troops, and they faced severe issues of dehydration, exhaustion, and hunger. The army had to cope with various challenges during the desert trek. The harsh movements through the desert tested the endurance and resilience of the troops. The severe weather conditions and scarcity of water had a profound impact on the morale of the soldiers. They faced a significant test, not only physically but also mentally. This journey through the desert highlighted the extent of Alexander's leadership skills. However, these harsh conditions also heightened unrest within the army. The grueling days in the Gedrosian Desert led to unrest and rebellions within the ranks. The soldiers grew increasingly dissatisfied with the endless desert trek and the hardships they endured. The scarcity of water and food began to create unrest among the troops. The declining morale and worsening living conditions became one of Alexander's greatest challenges. This unrest and rebellion turned into a significant test of Alexander's leadership and military skills. During this challenging period, Alexander's leadership and military strategies played a crucial role in quelling the rebellions and boosting the army's morale. He made significant efforts to inspire and reorganize the soldiers. The difficulties faced during this time once again demonstrated the magnitude of Alexander's military leadership and resilience. Dear friends, Alexander's return from India and his grueling trek through the Gedrosian Desert have been significant lessons in military strategy and leadership throughout history. This journey was not only a physical struggle but also a test of mental and leadership abilities. Alexander's successful navigation of these challenges serves as a reminder of why he is considered one of the greatest leaders in history. Now, we will continue to examine in detail the events that followed these great difficulties and the subsequent period. Hey friends, now let's dive into Alexander the Great's return to Babylon after his epic and challenging campaign in India and the reforms he made there. Alexander's return to Babylon was a major turning point, both personally and militarily. This return marked not just his military victories but also a significant administrative and cultural transformation. Babylon was a city Alexander arrived at after his victorious campaign. Known as one of the centers of civilization and knowledge, this grand city, located in the heart of Mesopotamia, held immense cultural and economic importance. After the tough battles in India, Alexander returned to Babylon feeling exhausted but determined to rebuild the city and overhaul its administration. When Alexander arrived in Babylon, he was in awe of the city's splendor but also felt the weight of the tasks ahead. Babylon needed to be more than just a site of military victory, it had to become the center of a new administrative approach. So, Alexander's reforms were extensive, affecting not just the city's organization but the entire structure of his empire. Upon his return, Alexander first took a close look at the city's administrative structure. He held meetings with local officials and administrators to gather their opinions and identify the city's current issues. During these meetings, he developed various plans and projects to improve Babylon's prosperity and maintain order in the city. Faced with many old and entrenched administrative traditions, Alexander decided to keep some while reforming others. To tackle corruption and poor management among local officials, he introduced strict oversight and control measures. Through these reforms, Alexander aimed to enhance the quality of public services in Babylon, support economic and commercial activities, and improve the city's infrastructure. He launched projects to improve water systems, boost trade, and raise living standards. Additionally, he made significant reforms in education and culture, reorganizing the city's libraries and academies and providing incentives for scientific and cultural activities. Alexander's return to Babylon and the reforms he implemented showed that he was not just a military leader, but also a great statesman and visionary administrator. Thanks to these reforms, Babylon became not just a military base but a cultural and economic hub, laying a solid foundation for Alexander's empire. However, these reforms in Babylon marked one of the last major challenges in Alexander's life. Dealing with the city's complex structures and political balances presented many difficulties and obstacles. Despite all these challenges, Alexander's determination and leadership turned Babylon into a great city once again, solidifying his place in history. So friends, Alexander's comprehensive reforms in Babylon highlighted his role not only as a conqueror but also as an exceptional leader and statesman. The transformation of Babylon showcased his broad vision and deep leadership skills. This period is crucial for understanding the impact Alexander had throughout history and the legacy he left behind. Next, we'll focus on other significant events and turning points in Alexander's life. Hey friends, now I'm going to take you through another important period guided by Alexander the Great's incredible vision. This era was shaped by his efforts to unify East and West and implement a policy of cultural synthesis. Alexander's policy left a lasting legacy that went beyond military conquests, impacting the depths of human history. After Babylon, Alexander aimed to expand his empire's borders by uniting not just the land but also the cultures and peoples. While his military victories and conquests earned him great fame, his real success lay in his ability to create a cultural synthesis across his territories. Alexander's vision wasn't just about building an empire, but also about harmonizing the different cultures and peoples within it. First and foremost, Alexander's policy of cultural synthesis involved blending Western and Eastern cultures. From the remote villages of Asia to the great cities of Mesopotamia, you could see traces of both Western and Eastern influences. This synthesis was a result of both military conquests and cultural interactions. Alexander developed various strategies to encourage this interaction, with one of the most important being his efforts to create a multicultural society. To promote the fusion of Eastern and Western cultures, Alexander founded many cities, each reflecting both Greek and local cultural elements. One of these cities, of course, was Alexandria, but similar approaches were applied in Babylon and other cities as well. The grand temples, monuments, and public buildings in these cities showcased both Greek and Eastern art, reinforcing their cosmopolitan character. Another key aspect of this cultural synthesis policy was how Alexander managed relationships with local populations. He respected Eastern traditions while also introducing Western cultural values to these regions. To achieve this, he formed alliances with local kings and rulers and integrated them as part of his empire. Alexander maintained control over local governments while also promoting the spread of Greek culture. This allowed for an integrated administration that combined both Western and Eastern elements. Another important step was making the military units multicultural. Alexander brought together soldiers from different backgrounds in his army. This approach made the military forces both stronger and more cohesive. By combining the discipline of the West with the strategic skills of the East, he created an effective military power. As part of his cultural synthesis policy, Alexander also supported various cultural and scientific activities. Scholars, philosophers, and artists came together in this multicultural environment and had the chance to share their ideas. This intellectual exchange contributed to the merging of Western and Eastern cultures and created a great cultural wealth. Alexander's cultural synthesis policy showed that he was not just a conqueror but also a great cultural leader. This policy brought the peoples of his empire closer together and left a significant mark on history. Alexander became known not only as a military leader but also as a builder of cultural bridges. So friends, this amazing policy of cultural synthesis reflects Alexander's grand vision and leadership. The unification of East and West shows how he was influential, not just through his military victories, but also through his cultural legacy. Next, we'll move on to other significant events and turning points that followed this cultural synthesis. Hey friends, now I'm going to tell you about the reforms Alexander the Great made to solidify his empire and the policies he implemented in the conquered regions. During this period, Alexander's strategic intelligence and administrative skills highlighted him not just as a military leader, but also as a great statesman. After his conquests, Alexander didn't just expand his territories, he also undertook a series of reforms to ensure stability and harmony in these lands. These reforms included significant changes in both military and civilian administration. Understanding these reforms is crucial for grasping how Alexander managed his empire and what kind of leader he was. At the core of Alexander's administrative reforms was the effective governance of the conquered regions. He developed various strategies to oversee local governments and build good relationships with the local populations. One of the main strategies was working in cooperation with local rulers and integrating them into his empire. By granting these rulers considerable autonomy, Alexander managed to keep them under his empire's control. Additionally, Alexander made reforms to strengthen the central administration of his empire. These reforms covered a broad range of areas, from tax systems to justice regulations. He established a fair tax system in the conquered regions and ensured its effective operation. Alexander emphasized transparency and fairness in tax collection and distribution. This approach increased the local population's trust in the empire and helped prevent rebellions. Alexander also tried to apply the principle of equality across the different regions of his empire. Instead of implementing different practices in each region, he applied similar administrative standards to ensure consistency. This approach helped maintain order and cohesion within the vast borders of his empire. Moreover, Alexander took into account the cultural and social structures of the conquered regions. By respecting each region's traditions and customs, he incorporated this cultural diversity into his empire. He allowed local religious rituals and cultural events, which enhanced the people's loyalty to the empire. These practices can be seen as an extension of Alexander's policy of cultural synthesis, and helped reinforce the loyalty of his subjects. Another important policy Alexander implemented in the conquered regions was his military settlement strategy. Greek soldiers and settlers were established in the newly conquered lands. These soldiers and settlers not only provided a military presence but also interacted with the local population, fostering cultural blending. This strategy strengthened the empire's defense and also improved regional harmony. These administrative reforms and policies ensured that Alexander's empire was not only solid in military terms, but also had a strong administrative and cultural foundation. Alexander went down in history not just as a conqueror, but also as a great statesman. These reforms and policies reflected his vision and leadership. So friends, these reforms and policies show how Alexander managed his empire and ensured control and cohesion in the conquered regions. Now we'll move on to other significant developments and the final years of Alexander's empire. Dear friends, now I will share with you the deepest secrets of Alexander the Great's final years, his campaigns, and his death. The last chapter of Alexander's life is marked by challenges that followed his military and administrative successes and is shrouded in mysteries surrounding his death. As we delve into this period, imagine you're embarking on a journey through the depths of history, vividly bringing every detail to life. After expanding his empire with his conquests and establishing dominance across the West, Alexander set his sights on even more distant goals. Despite facing challenges in the East, he was planning new campaigns with great determination. His ambitions included expanding into unknown territories and further strengthening his empire. During this period, there was great excitement about campaigns into the depths of India. Alexander aimed to explore the kingdoms and regions of Eastern Asia and incorporate these lands into his empire. However, these grand plans were interrupted by health issues and personal difficulties in his final years. Although Alexander's greatest desire was to unite the conquered lands and create a cultural and political synthesis, his own health was deteriorating rapidly. Alexander's health began to decline swiftly after he returned to Babylon. Amid Babylon's mesmerizing atmosphere and splendor, Alexander's body was in turmoil. His young age at the onset of illness is recorded by many historians as a tragic event. Alexander first experienced symptoms like headaches and fever, which worsened over time, leading him to bed. His illness has been the subject of much speculation throughout history. Some sources suggest that he contracted an epidemic disease like malaria or typhus, while others speculate about poisoning. Ancient Greek and Roman writers especially believed that Alexander's death might have involved a poisoning conspiracy. According to these conspiracy theories, the person who poisoned Alexander might have been an advisor or rival planning to seize control of the empire. Alexander's final days were marked by a way that preserved his legacy as a great leader. As his illness progressed, he spoke his final words to those around him, and offered advice on the future of his empire. Known as the King Alexander passed away in 323 BC. At a young age, his sudden death caused profound sorrow among both his people and soldiers. Alexander's death is considered one of history's greatest mysteries. After his death, many conspiracy theories and speculations emerged. Many historians claimed that behind his death were not only illness but also a series of intrigues and political maneuvers. The poisoning theory is one of the most debated topics among historians. According to this theory, the poison causing Alexander's death was a slow-acting toxin, with initial symptoms appearing as mild and general illness. The use of such a poison allowed the conspirators to achieve their aims and helped them gain control over the throne after Alexander's death. However, some historians argue that Alexander's illness was due to natural causes. These theories suggest that the disease leading to Alexander's death could have been a common epidemic or infection of that time. Alexander's rapid decline and the nature of his death support this theory. Dear friends, this final chapter of Alexander's life establishes a deep connection between his grand achievements and his tragic end. The mysteries surrounding his death reveal how a leader who wrote his name in golden letters in history approached his final moments. How did his empire continue to uphold his vision and strategic genius after his death? The answer to this question lies deep within history, and exploring it requires a journey beyond time. Dear friends, we're now diving into one of the most exciting chapters that history books can't contain: the tumultuous period following Alexander the Great's death, including the clashes among generals across the empire and the ensuing wars of the Diadochi. Alexander the Great's sudden death was like a massive stone dropping into water, sending ripples that shook the entire empire. After this great leader's passing, a power vacuum emerged among the generals who had governed the empire. This created a conflict environment where former allies turned against each other with swords drawn. Following Alexander's death, a bloody struggle known as the Diadochi Wars began among his closest commanders and generals. After Alexander's death, the generals vying for control of the empire were focused on both protecting the empire's territories and consolidating their own power. These generals, though not direct heirs of Alexander, were his most loyal and capable commanders. However, the immense size and wealth of the empire fueled their desires to establish dominance in their respective regions. Key figures in these conflicts included Ptolemy, Seleucus, Lysimachus, and Cassander. Each tried to shape Alexander's legacy to suit their own interests. Ptolemy, one of Alexander's most trusted generals, took control of Egypt after Alexander's death. He used Egypt as a base to influence other parts of the empire. By establishing dominance in Egypt, Ptolemy founded the Ptolemaic dynasty, which lasted for many years. The strategic location of Egypt gave him a significant advantage, and his rule in the region was enduring. Another major player, Seleucus, controlled much of Alexander's eastern territories, including Mesopotamia and large parts of Persia. Seleucus developed various military and diplomatic strategies to secure and expand his control over these regions. Under his leadership, the Seleucid dynasty was established and became a major power center during the Hellenistic period. Lysimachus established dominance in Thrace and western Anatolia. His rule focused especially on western Anatolia and surrounding areas, which were crucial for regional control and trade. Lysimachus conducted several military campaigns to solidify his control in these regions and played a key role in defending the empire's western borders. Cassander took over the administration of Greece after Alexander's death. The complex relationships and internal strife among Greek city-states made Cassander's job challenging. However, Cassander made strategic moves to continue Alexander's legacy and maintained his influence in Greece, taking on the task of defending the empire's western frontiers. The struggles among these four figures led to significant chaos, and the wars of the Diadochi resulted in the fragmentation of the empire and power imbalances. The wars involved both military and political strategies and shaped the characteristics of the Hellenistic period. The wars of the Diadochi weren't just military conflicts, they also led to cultural and social changes. Reforms and cultural syntheses introduced by the new regimes in the territories Alexander had conquered left deep marks on the history of these regions. The fragmentation of Alexander's empire also marked the beginning of an era where Western and Eastern cultures merged. Dear friends, the period following Alexander the Great's death remains a significant chapter in history, leaving deep marks of struggle. Alexander's legacy continued to have a profound impact on the entire region, even after his death. Each of these events will be remembered as stories that are written in history books, lessons to be learned, and narratives to be remembered. The struggles of each general, with their military genius and strategic acumen, maintain their role and significance on the historical stage. Dear friends, today we'll dive into one of the most crucial and turbulent periods in history, the fragmentation of Alexander the Great's empire after his death and the subsequent rise of the Hellenistic era. This period marks the end of one era and the beginning of another, a transformative time when the collapse of a grand empire led to the emergence of new power centers and cultural syntheses, echoing through history. Alexander the Great's sudden and unexpected death created a massive power vacuum. His death not only ended an empire but also concluded Alexander's vision. The empire was divided among four main generals, each striving to establish dominance in their own regions. However, this division failed to preserve the balance and unity that Alexander had created. Ptolemy, Seleucus, Lysimachus, and Cassander each established new administrations in their territories and developed their own political and military strategies. Yet, the power struggle among these four leaders weakened the empire's unity and strength. This fragmentation led to the emergence of new power centers. The end of Alexander's empire marked the beginning of the Hellenistic era. This period was characterized by the spread of Greek culture across a vast region and rapid cultural and political changes. Greek culture and thought spread from Mesopotamia to Egypt, from India to Anatolia. The start of the Hellenistic era wasn't just about the fragmentation of an empire, but also the beginning of a significant cultural and social transformation. The territories conquered by Alexander saw Greek culture influencing various regions and blending with local cultures. This synthesis became one of the defining features of the Hellenistic era. The Hellenistic era was shaped by the new kingdoms and dynasties established by Alexander's generals. Among these were the Ptolemaic dynasty founded by Ptolemy in Egypt, the Seleucid Empire established by Seleucus in the Middle East and Mesopotamia, Lysimachus' rule in Thrace and western Anatolia, and Cassander's administration in Greece. These new power centers greatly contributed to the cultural synthesis of the Hellenistic era. Greek culture and art blended with local traditions, creating a new cultural mosaic. Cities became important cultural and commercial centers, where Greek cultural influences mingled with local elements. One of the most notable features of the Hellenistic era was the establishment of cities as cultural and intellectual hubs. Many new cities were founded in the territories Alexander had conquered, becoming crucial centers for trade and culture. Cities like Alexandria, Pergamum, and Antioch stood out. Alexandria, as the capital of the Ptolemaic dynasty, became a major center for science, culture, and philosophy, known for the famous Library of Alexandria. The Hellenistic era also saw significant advancements in art and science. Greek artistic and architectural influences were evident in the cities of this period. Sculpture featured powerful and dynamic figures, while advancements were made in mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. Scholars and thinkers of this era combined ancient Greek wisdom with new discoveries. The fragmentation of Alexander's empire marked the end of one historical era and the beginning of another. The Hellenistic era stands as a period in history where Greek culture had a profound impact over a wide geographical area, with rapid cultural and social changes. This era was a rich and layered historical process shaped by both the generals who inherited the empire and the expanding cultural interactions. Dear friends, understanding the details of this period is crucial for grasping the flow of history and the transformations in human history. Alexander the Great's legacy continued to exert a significant influence even after his death, and the Hellenistic era remains a testament to this impact. Dear friends, we have reached the end of a grand journey. Together we have reviewed this unforgettable adventure that has left its mark on history. As we approach the conclusion of this grand story, let's take a deep dive into the legendary life of Alexander the Great and the impact of his legacy on the present day. Alexander's life was like a myth turned into reality. Beginning as a child, reaching its peak with conquests at a young age, and continuing to influence events even after his death, this story has inspired history. In this video, we've explored both the details of Alexander's life and the profound impact he had on history. This epic journey not only opened the doors to the past, but also helped us understand how power, strategy, and cultural interactions have been shaped throughout history. Alexander the Great's legacy was not limited to the lands he conquered. His vision was remembered not only for military victories and conquests, but also for the profound effects he left on cultural and intellectual fields. The fusion of Greek culture with the rich traditions of Persia and India during this period altered the course of history, and this transformation has continued to influence the present day. Understanding Alexander's military genius, strategic intelligence, and leadership skills is crucial for grasping what kind of ruler he was. He was not just a warrior, but also a strategist and cultural visionary. His military achievements influenced the direction of world history, and his style of governance played a significant role in shaping subsequent empires. The cultural synthesis created in the territories Alexander conquered emerged from the blend of local cultures and Greek culture. This amalgamation brought innovation to art, science, and thought, deepening the interaction between Western and Eastern cultures in the following centuries. Hellenistic cities became centers of both trade and cultural exchange. Alexander's life and legacy have offered us important lessons throughout history. His leadership style, strategic acumen, and cultural vision have provided us with a deep understanding of power and governance. Furthermore, understanding the impact of such great figures on civilizations and cultures throughout history can help us shape the future by learning from the past. As we conclude this video, I want to remind you of the details of Alexander the Great's life and legacy. He is remembered as one of history's greatest military leaders, and his story has shown us how power, strategy, and cultural interaction come together. Understanding history in such depth, exploring the past, and uncovering the legacies of history's great figures are sources of inspiration for us all. Thank you for joining me on this epic journey. Alexander the Great's life and legacy are like a hidden treasure in the depths of history, waiting to be discovered. By watching this video, you should have gained a better understanding of how this great historical figure influenced the world. Looking forward to reconnecting with you in future videos on other great historical figures and events. Let's continue to explore the depths of history under the light of wisdom. Farewell for now, and don't forget to lose yourself in the traces of history. Dear viewers, as we journey through the depths of history, we have explored all the details and legacy of Alexander the Great's legendary life. Understanding the deep marks left by this legend throughout history, opening doors to the past, and evaluating its impact on the present day has been an opportunity. Each step, each victory, and each cultural synthesis has revealed the complexity and greatness of this great historical figure. Exploring this grand story with you has held great significance for both history and human history. Understanding each phase of Alexander's life not only allowed us to journey into the depths of the past, but also helped us better grasp the impact and legacy of this great figure on the world. As we end this video, I want to thank you. We are grateful for your curiosity and interest as we delved into the depths of this great historical figure. Looking forward to meeting you in future videos with other great names and events in history. Farewell for now, and continue to follow the traces of history.